Hello, and welcome to another horrific review. I'm joined once again by Steve as we continue our journey along the Hammer horror filmography with X the Unknown. Directed by Leslie Norman and Joseph Losey, this 1956 film tells the story of a radioactive mud-like creature that terrorizes a Scottish village. This movie was made on a budget of $60,000. And
Yeah,
no box office. It must have been the 80s when the whole box office dynamic came in.
yeah. I don't think they worried about box office in the 50s.
No, just the machine, obviously, the mechanism for just instantly reporting wasn't there. Sure, it was
Yeah,
all cash and paper records, so they wouldn't have kept up. But
yeah.
obviously, they must have found out that it did well because they wouldn't spend that amount of money in that day.
I think Hammer from the start had it wrapped up, didn't they, about what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. So,
Well,
well,
they've been making movies for about 10 years at this point.
yeah,
It's just they're obviously we're starting with the horror movies, but they were doing crime dramas and romances and all sorts.
yeah.
I don't think people remember that. People remember Hammer for horror because that's
Hammer
especially the
horror.
70s when we get there. That's where they cut their teeth.
Mm,
This must have been at the time. This must have been the equivalent of a Marvel movie.
yeah,
If you think, even watching this, there are people with stretching budgets to make this today with some of the scenes.
oh yeah, definitely. But saying that it wasn't until near the end that you actually got to see the creature, was it? The
Well, it was
blob.
all hinted at.
Uh, it's but when you did see it, you began to think, just how much did that cost in relation to the film? Because I know it was like a thing of lava, wasn't it? Just
Yeah,
coming
but
through
it's
the
the way they
village.
did it in the super, like, I mean, that the green screen technology, wasn't there? Oh, there's Eric. Eric, I have your video queued up. I'm going to watch your physical media versus streaming after I finish this. After I finish this, and I think you know what my answer will be. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Good to see you, man. I'm glad to see your channel's coming up. And of course, the stream wouldn't be complete without Chris.
Oh, hello, Chris. Yeah.
Chris is unleashing his crazy theories on everybody on a daily basis now.
Oh,
They're all compiled and cut out and queued up, and just the world gets unfiltered craziness on a daily basis. Beautiful.
I still haven't done that video, man.
Well, you've been a wee bit busy.
I have,
I mean,
yeah.
that beard doesn't grow itself.
Moving.
Like
No,
that's a force of will.
been moving as well, haven't I?
Yeah, I've seen the photographs. I'm surprised you two haven't fallen out.
No. It's
That's
yeah. He tells me to go for everything and ditch stuff we don't need, and then
no, not that. I didn't mean that.
he goes through the bins and goes, "You can't get rid of that."
I've seen your photographs. I could already picture the conversations in my mind, and I've just been laughing. Just going, oh, it's going to be so much fun.
We have more carrier bags than Tesco's.
I have a bucket. Seriously, I legit have a bucket full of, and I've got them all rolled up, and
Yeah.
I can't get rid of them, and I just seem to like, I don't get like delivery. Sorry, folks, we'll get to the video soon. You know what I mean? This is important. These are important things to talk about, but I roll them up, and it's only every so often I get like a food delivery. It's not like I'm getting deliveries every week or anything because I like to go out and just
Yeah.
top up. But I get all my frozen stuff like once a month, and then obviously top up with fresh. But I'm getting to the point now. I'm just shoving them in, and I feel like if they leave the bucket, I've lost. But if all the bags are in the bucket, I'm sort of on top of it. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not doing the drawer.
I should
That
send
is
you.
the classic
I told you
70s
that
and 80s thing, isn't it? Your drawer full of plastic bags.
uh,
I'm not doing that.
we had a pile of carrier bags which filled the kitchen floor. Put it that way, in a heap. And he wouldn't let me put the foot on. He said, "No, don't dare put the foot on." So take it off. So.
They tried that. Do you remember they tried the recycling for the carrier bags, and then they stopped it because they couldn't keep up?
No, it's silly. I see one of the shops. I think it might be Tesco. Actually,
Um,
they actually put carrier bag bin for people to
yeah,
actually have a carrier bag.
and then they stopped it because they just kept getting overfilled. Now, I
Yeah,
believe they should use, see, for home deliveries,
yeah,
use recycled bags.
yeah, yeah.
Um, we did it. See all these idiots that talk about the green stuff. We did it years ago. You give in your milk bottles. You give your milk bottles back to the milkman. You
Yeah.
went to the shop. And you got 10p for your God, what do you call that?
Corona lemonade bottles.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
lemonade bottles. There's company. You know, what I mean, you give those back. You got 10p. The
yeah,
cans, obviously, they didn't make a lot, but you know, what I mean, you did those too. And
yeah.
bags, you get, you know, you
They
always
did.
used again.
I think
And then just
when they stopped giving the 10p for the lemonade bottles, and people just didn't bother, did they? It's
what
took
was
away. Hmm.
But then it's no, that was the way kids as well got pocket money and stuff because you did if you were industrious, you'd go
True,
and gather them up.
true story. I heard today. Starbucks have told all their stores that they have to. Um, I think it's by law now, isn't it, that they've got to join in the recycling, and everything has got to be recycled. Even their paper cups, they have to be washed out before they're put in proper bins that Starbucks are issuing to all their
Right.
stores.
How much water does that waste?
Wow. I was talking to the guy in Starbucks today, and he just told me, he says, we got no place to put all these bags in containers. He says, because at the moment they get put in they're in a
Yep.
like shopping mall, and he says we got nowhere to put our own bags. He says because before they were just dumped in the shopping mall.
Yeah, and then it goes to the processing plants actually put it in the conveyor belt and the
Yeah,
blow. They actually have a system for sorting it out.
yeah. We'll
But do you know
stop.
where it all goes anyway? It all goes to bloody India. It all
Well,
goes onto a barge, gets sailed halfway across the world to get buried on another continent.
yeah. Well, I think I'm not sure whether Starbucks are actually having their own processing plants as well, but things like the plastic bottles for the milk and the cups have now got to be sent back to Starbucks. So I don't know what's happening there.
It's a
Uh,
it's a grift.
hmm,
Honestly, I don't believe any of it's genuine. It's all a grift. It's all virtue signaling. These are some of the these companies are shit. They treat their staff like shit. They treat their contractors. They're not good companies. And this is all to look nice. And
yeah,
it's not actually doing anything. Landfills are actually the most efficient because
hmm,
they squeeze them up into the tiniest cubes possible.
yeah,
And one landfill site will last about 10 years. And then it becomes a forest,
yeah, hmm,
usually owned by the National Trust, because that's what they did. They fill it 10, 15 years, topsoil, forest, gets
yeah.
handed over to the National Trust. Next one.
It's quite funny you should
And
say.
new trees use 3 times more carbon than an old tree.
In Plymouth, the landfill site in Plymouth is right next to Saltram House, which is National Trust. And yeah, that's more or less a forest now. So, anyway,
Well,
back
the
to the film.
system is right. But anyway, this is sort of relevant because this is back in the time where people like this is in the advent of the atomic bomb, and this is a lot a lot of horror came out of that era.
Mm,
After the Second World War, the nuclear arms race was hinted at, but it was busy about to begin. And this whole idea of radiation, and people didn't actually know what it did. And that, you know, I mean, when you've got all that, the imagination just runs wild, and it's fantastic for storytelling.
mm. The
But uh,
I know you said about that soldier. Was it Private
oh, Lansing, oh,
Lanson?
I'd punch him.
I he was
I
played by
would.
he was played by an actor called Kenneth Cope, who ironically went on to play Hopkirk in Randall and Hopkirk deceased. So he was actually dead when he played
Oh
that.
my god, I remember that.
Yeah, he was actually Hopkirk.
Oh, that was a classic.
Oh, it was good how it was done at the time, but
I watched it. Yeah, I remembered. I watched it.
you used to think, oh my god, he's disappeared. How did he disappear? And Yeah, it's yeah,
Oh, that's
he played him. So, and the guy who played Lance Corporal Spider Webb in it was Anthony Newley, who actually wrote all the songs and the lyrics for Willy Wonka, the original one with Gene Wilder. And he also had quite a number of pop songs himself in the charts in the late 50s and early 60s.
oh.
I recognise.
Did you see the video or the interview they did with the guy that created the Willy Wonka experience?
Was that
This is still good. That's the one
the
in
dodgy
Glasgow,
one?
right?
The
So,
dodgy one.
he says it's ruined his life, and he
Yeah,
wanted to make enough money. Now he's our age, right? And he
yeah,
wanted to make enough money to move out of his family home. He's living with his parents in his 40s/50s
yeah.
and get married.
I
Oh god, you had to. Oh my god,
haven't
it's
seen
the
it, but
gift. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I know about the story of it, and I saw a bit of it on the news. And
This guy just you couldn't cut him with a knife.
yeah,
He's just like, it's all your fault. It's like, mate, you're charging 40 quid a head. Frick off. You're the one who made the kids cry. What the hell?
yeah. Wasn't there? There was a similar one, wasn't there? A Winter Wonderland or something back along.
I don't know, but this guy just he auctioned off the props that he used.
Yeah.
And he got like 2.5 grand a pop for the the stuff because it's become it's an internet sensation. Has become an absolute legend.
Yeah.
He's actually
Because it's
made the money
rubbish.
selling off the props, like the chocolate river.
Yeah.
He sold it for 3 grand. Oh, you couldn't. Sometimes you just gotta love the world. It's just so random and bonkers daft. You just gotta. Oh, but yeah, private Lansing. Oh, please, sir, I haven't had a go yet.
I
He won't say
want to
anything.
go.
I want to go with the Geiger counter, and everyone's just like, "We're not getting dinner tonight." Like, if there hadn't have been a creature, he was getting buried anyway. The minute that officer went off somewhere,
But
and he was going head first down the first hole.
you know the stick that was in the ground, that where the crevice opened up when Lansing was there. There was a stick in the ground, wasn't there? That one sort of went deeper, and then in the next shot it was back up deeper. And you would have thought if there was a crevice opening, it would have disappeared, but it kept going like this in every shot. But yeah, I noticed that.
Fantastic. What is it about these Hammer movies? I hope this isn't a trope for the early ones. They need an American to be the lead character. They did it with Quatermass. Now they've done it with this. That
Yeah.
Doctor. Oh god, did I not put his name down?
Because
Doctor Yankee McYank. Anyway, all of a sudden it's like, what is this?
Dr. Royston, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Did they do it to let the Americans see, hey, we've got an American in this by the film,
It wouldn't surprise me.
Because
Londoners are like not. They're. I don't know.
If you've got all English people in a film that's
set in Scotland.
set in Scotland.
With two Scottish accents and they're fake.
Some dodgy Scottish accents. I think the best Scottish accent came from the kid, didn't it?
Yeah, the kid was the best one, and that was fake.
And and the other thing that the kid done better than anyone else was the shock on his eyes. He
was
his eyes. He was
brilliant. Those kids were actually the best actors in this.
Yeah,
they really give it. Oh, like, and you think of. I'm saying this is the equivalent of a Marvel movie. That sort of scale back then. Because honestly, this was you had helicopters, you had trucks, you had aerial shots, you had everything.
Yeah.
Multiple locations, scenes, big action sequences, the ground opening up like this, had it all.
But you could tell. I know it's the 50s. You could tell that they used models, can you, for like the land with the explosion coming up.
Oh yeah, but
And
I didn't. I thought it looked good. I didn't care.
oh yeah, yeah. But you could tell, and it made me think of, sorry, Chris,
Well,
Star Wars, because if you watch the making of Star Wars, they actually used a table tennis table with the set of the Death Star on, and that was their model, and they were chucking like fire bombs at it to make it look as though it was explosions. And that's what I instantly thought when I saw this and I saw the model. I thought they used this like 20 odd years later. This
well,
type
sure.
of
Look at Toho Studios when they did all the Godzilla movies. They
yeah,
recycled the same three shot. Like the army trucks were models, like going along the same ravine, like a model railway.
yeah,
Like they recycled that shot about 50 times. What else did they do? The power station. How many times did that power station had set up get reused in the Toho movies?
yeah,
And you knew there were models, but you didn't care. Like you think back then as well. People were probably taken in. You think of everything up to then had been a stage show, like we said, they've been stage actors.
yeah,
This is actually a proper movie.
yeah.
You know, a proper movie on location, going between scenes. It isn't acted out as if it's a stage in a theater.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed was when the car was driving along and the doctor was in the car with who was it? He was in the car with another, but they had the back window behind them.
Oh yes, that was great.
It was going like this, but if you look at the film that was in it, it was the same. It was just a recurring thing, like
Yeah,
the
had it
road to
just
the left, the road to the left, the road to the left, and it just kept going. A tree, telegraph pole, tree, telegraph.
but what else did they have? Don't forget, this was flipping rebel. I can't believe I'm sticking off with this movie and you're slagging it off.
No, I'm not saying it. I thought the first time it was a brilliant story, and
Like this is innovative technology. Like this would never been done before. Everything
I
else was
think
just stage props. Now we're actually seeing the transition into actual movies, and it's lovely to see.
if you had what this had, when you consider there was technology back in '55 was zilch. We just more or less come out of the war, and we
Yeah,
and it was
and
built.
the second biggest recession in history because we're through the biggest one now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? After the Second World War, Britain like just got
yeah,
absolutely hammered
yeah. And
financially.
if what was in that film happened today, there'd be uproar. But I mean, I'm not knocking the film. I think it was a brilliant film. It's a good story. I think the title X, the unknown, was a bit unknown. Um, um, I
But then
don't know what
again,
to call it,
was it
but
X-rays? Was it
yeah,
like they didn't give it a name or anything? There were creatures of energy that
yeah,
fed in radiation. Like even that. What think of modern movies like movies today, medium low budget ones. There isn't that amount of imagination put into them.
no, no, because it kept
Maybe
you
now.
guessing.
Hmm?
It kept you guessing just what was causing all this horror, especially with the kid. You noticed the kid was putting his pants, and you thought it must be something really bad for this kid to be, scared, and everyone else, and them getting burned and everything
Yeah, that makeup was brilliant.
yeah,
Like that was really well done, burn makeup. I just love the way the doctor's like, could you lift that up a wee second? And he measures, what was it he put up against the rifle? Yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah. That about looks right.
But did you notice
But
the
that's
thing?
what they did. Do you remember? Like they actually did the tests
Yeah,
on wasn't it sailors and they saw it from Hiroshima and Nagasaki that actually things like metal that blocked
yeah,
of a certain density, you'd actually get the shapes of things burnt into people. Like this, that was actually based on reality.
yeah. I thought what was funny about one of the opening bit was that the admin guy was doing the doctor's work, wasn't he? And so the
He was
boss man,
sneaking off to do the doctor's work
yeah, and
instead of pushing papers. You're like,
the boss was saying, "Where's Doctor Royston? Oh, he's in his laboratory." So they send someone over to his laboratory. Think how long this took. He went and says, "Oh, what's he called? Mr. Elliott's wants to see you." So the doctor then had to drop his stuff after showing the guy who visited the thing with the radio. Drop his stuff, go to see Mr. Elliott, who told him to go to this scene of radioactivity. So you think of the time that would have all taken. Meanwhile, the poor casualties were still on the scene, weren't they? They didn't bother getting them in the ambulance, and getting them to the hospital. They wanted the doctor to see the burns. And then they goes, yeah, he's dead, It's, what was he called? What
I guess two
was
of them.
kind of, Lansing.
Yeah, Lansing, yeah.
Lansing died. Yeah. But,
I don't feel sorry for him.
the time limit between it happening in the scene, and they should have just got them straight to hospital, but no, the doctor and everything was coming to see them, and or the professor, and I thought he's probably been there a couple of hours, in the back of an ambulance waiting for this bloody doctor to turn up.
What's funny as well, they couldn't work out how the rank structure worked because you had a private coming up and then the officers helping him off with his gear while the sergeant's standing by and stuff. And I was like, that's not the way it works. The corporal's over there somewhere. You're like, this isn't the way this works, and it's all very jolly, chummy. We're all on a radiation finding expedition.
Yeah,
I know it was training and stuff, but it was just hilarious.
But the other thing was, and I'm not sure if it was due to the time, they had absolutely no plan for radioactivity. There was no radioactive suits.
They did, but they didn't wear hats or helmets.
No. And he says when the guy goes to get the doctor at the first scene, just after the Lansing gets swallowed up, he says, "Oh yeah, just stand behind the glass." Yeah, that will really stop this.
Yes, the fact that it was behind the glass and it's not completely sealed, and you can just walk around. And he does walk around the other side of it.
Oh, class!
And then why did the hobo break the glass when he stole it? When he just had to walk around the side.
Yeah, and it was good fun.
But at the same time, though, this was like I said, this is the transition. Like you can see the difference between the usual stage play type to actually becoming a movie.
Yeah. It's
But yeah, I was having the atomic bomb. People didn't know. Like it's easy to look back from now and go, oh yeah, well obviously you'd have the charcoal line suits because charcoal absorbs, and you've all that kind of stuff. That's all common knowledge.
Yeah.
And you can search it up, different ways, lead and thickness of the casing and different types of metal. We know all that now in the radioisotopes and the half-lives, and that didn't just get learned in 5 minutes.
No.
But that's what I'm saying about the imagination, because it left it open that this was something brand new. Like the world was changing.
Yeah.
And there you go. What does the human mind do? It thinks up of every horror imaginable. And I think, didn't you join in the morality and horror one?
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
Yeah. Do you know why I was talking about horror always being a warning? It was a method of warning people, and it's a method of storytelling that makes you think about the dangers so that you prepare for them.
Yeah.
Here's an example. Something brand new in the world that we haven't encountered before. Radiation, atomic energy, atomic fusion, atomic fission, atomic fusion is a theory, sorry, atomic fission, and the idea of nuclear holocaust. This is all brand new. So what's the mind do? It thinks of every danger possible, and
Mm,
then and uses the medium of storytelling so
yeah,
that, oh well, that could happen. How did And then that's what inspires people then to study,
yeah,
and that's how we progress as a species. The problem today is nobody thinks. We have more information than ever, and we're willfully ignorant,
mm.
and nobody uses their imagination to just retread, repeat,
Oh, yeah.
remake, retread, repeat, remake,
They
and
take the story and just, I mean, a lot of the thrillers these days are, oh, they killed his wife, they killed his family. Now is the time for revenge, and um, that's been like it since, well, the sort of Jean Claude Van Damme films and stuff like
mhm.
that, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, in Liam Neeson,
Yeah,
um,
that's what I liked about the Mist in the Mountain, because I think I said that during my review, that it wasn't it didn't do the cliche because you skipped a generation to the grandson, and he
yeah,
was more he wasn't that emotionally attached, but what he
yeah,
was interested in was finding out the truth.
yeah,
And that, once again, you still got the tropes there, but you can make a brand new story with a bit of imagination.
yeah.
But the professionals, the the superstars can't.
No,
And you see the effect. You actually see now the direct effect in society. Kids today don't think. They don't imagine. They wait to be told what to think, and then the chant slogans and you know, they've no motivation whatsoever to make anything of themselves because they're not being inspired.
and it makes them have false heroes, really, that instead of looking to real heroes, the likes of the nurses and doctors in COVID who were working their asses off. I know some
But the
people.
ones that weren't TikToking,
Yeah,
spending 16 hours a day practicing a TikTok dance. I hope
yeah,
you don't mean them arseholes.
no, not at all. But you know, um, instead of looking up to someone like that, they tend to look up to Superman and I don't know, Spider Man
But they don't even do that. I'm looking up the likes of villains.
and pop stars.
Fucking pop
Yeah,
stars.
Taylor Swift. You know, if you think back to the '90s when Take That first split up, and they were actually arranging counselling for Take That fans
Well, you would need
as
counselling.
they split up. Hmm. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
dear. But that's just, they're just a vehicle to let out hormones.
Hmm.
But then this whole mollycoddling things where it goes a bit too far. I mean, everything's about balance, and there is none.
Grow a pair. That's why.
Yeah, just fucking wise up to yours.
But yeah,
But
yeah, you're right about the fear aspect. I think this is where the early Hammer horror films brought in the fear. They were making people fear what would happen if radioactivity in like the atomic bomb actually caused something
mhm.
to come out the ground, even if it was in Scotland. Um, so that was the initial horror bit, and you didn't see what came out the ground until nearer the sort of last quarter of the film,
Yeah.
and so it was fear of the unknown, and you just don't get that these days, do you? You don't get fear of the unknown very
No,
much. Please.
I'm going to be reviewing a film on Friday, and I'm trying not to write an absolute. I'm struggling to write the notes for it because I'm like, oh, this is terrible. And there's no, and it was all trying to do Fear of the Unknown, but it was done so badly and ham-fisted that it was like, oh. And then when the reveal happens, you're like, oh, whatever, get over and done with.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but there was lots of there wasn't a lot of action. There was a lot of character acting
yeah,
and a lot of scenes where they're just trying to figure this out. They're actually intellectually going, I am stumped. I have no idea what this is. It was a mystery.
yeah.
it's easy for us, to look back and go, yeah, well, that's up. But back then, if you think about, and I think it was during this period of the 50s and the 60s that people were actually leaving cinemas terrified. They were shaking.
Yeah, and they some were putting up counselling outside, weren't they? And The Exorcist, if you think in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
then people like counsellors and vicars and everything outside, didn't they? But yeah, no, yeah, Psycho.
Yeah, and the
Hitchcock.
Tingler. I always remember the Tingler. They'd
Yeah,
actually tried to use the electrodes in the cinema.
yeah,
They'd done a test where they'd actually put electrodes on the chairs. They
yeah,
couldn't do it now, obviously. But that actually shocked people in the part of the back where the Tingler was.
yeah.
Was that a Hammer or is that something else? Was that different studio?
I don't think it was Hammer, was it?
I'll
I
look it
don't
up.
know. Yeah.
I hope it is because I remember just 1959. Um, Vincent Price is in it.
Hmm.
It does not say. Dr. Warren Chaplin. We'll have to do that one though, even if it's not a Hammer movie.
Yeah,
We'll have to do that one
yeah.
because that's an absolute classic. But yeah, talking to the kids though, this movie early on broke the cardinal rule.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like the unwritten rule of horror: children shall not be harmed. And they're like, nah.
I did. I killed
You
my book. Yeah.
throw babies at the
Over
sea and all sorts, still in their prime. You're like, nah, boing. See ya, kid. No
same.
reverence for you, mate.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Phone face down on the pushchair. Oh, what an
No,
imagination
in
I've
fairness, in
got.
your latest one, a lot of those kids deserved it. We screw bags.
Oh yeah.
It's
They
like,
all.
yeah. Don't know if that's the correct response, but hey.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, one of the wee lads died, and then we see the parents, just completely distraught, and then the actual shaking over. Like, that wouldn't have been shown before.
No.
Like, that was a big no-no. Like, even today, they still shy away from that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Kids and animals you're not supposed to touch.
Yeah,
Um, if you take, I injured 3 of the dogs in Mr.
that's right,
Lemon.
because the owner would have cracked up at you if you had have.
She did, yeah. Katrin, she like she says, "Oh, you hurt my dogs." I says, "I didn't kill them though."
Yeah. The
luckily,
agreement has been met.
luckily, she's a friend, but I think it still went.
Yeah, it's amazing how people can't, when something becomes personal, it's completely different, even if a lot of it.
Yeah, but yeah, hurt her dogs.
But then that's always the fine line, isn't it? Because you need boundaries. Because once you cross every boundary, where else have you got to go?
Yeah,
Then we're talking about Hellraiser territory, I mean? Then you're going looking for other dimensions and Cenobites, and once you do everything here, that's why you need to sort of pull back. Let's pull back there. Let's leave something for the imagination, because
yeah.
you just get the whole.
Hold on a minute,
Incoming voice call from
guys. I'm on a podcast. I'll catch you later. My son.
He should be watching.
He's
Gaz.
just finished. Oh, he's at work till.
Right.
No, he's at work till 11. Yeah, he's at work, so he's probably got his tea break.
But yeah, that's where you want the whole shock rock thing, and once you've done it, you can't go anymore, and then it becomes, what's the next thing? So you have to you have to find that balance between, okay, what's the next scary thing, or how do you shock the audience, but also how do you not just do everything that
Yeah.
you run out of ideas and then we end up like where we are today.
Yeah.
But even keeping the creature hidden, it worked in this.
It
You know,
did because it kept the suspense going. Because the things that go through your mind is it a monster? Is it, something like Godzilla, or is it, coming up out the ground, or is it, you just don't know what it is, and the more it keeps you hanging on, the more you think, what the bloody hell is it? And then when it finally comes there, you think, oh, yeah, makes sense because of the hole that was made in the ground. What
yep.
else could have come out that hole in the ground apart from this
And
blob?
they even went that far to telling the backstory of how the Earth was formed and lava and the whole thing. The idea of this being a whole sea.
Yeah,
Um, Arthur C. Clarke used a similar idea with Odyssey 4,
yeah,
with the actual planet of Europa when somebody did actually land on it,
uh,
because of course they would. What was that, 2064 or something? There's 4 books in the series,
yeah,
and the last ones they actually do crash land in Europa. That idea of the planet isn't quite a formed mass, but the creatures, because of the low density and the gravity, we have these fantastical things.
yeah. Don't knock me, but I've never actually read any Arthur C. Clarke.
I mean, he's good.
Yeah,
Yep.
never actually.
The
Not to,
films don't do him justice.
yeah,
2001, 2010 don't do Arthur C. Clarke justice.
yeah.
The bit at the end of 2001 where Dave, I don't know if that made sense to you, but he's actually ascended to the beings of the monolith. That was the whole point of him going through his life and aging.
Hmm.
But the way Arthur C. Clarke describes it is, fantastic of him, essentially being evolved into a higher being. You don't get that in the film. It just looks like a trippy, weird uh, sci-fi thing.
Yeah.
And then Hal gets ascended as well, and we don't get,
What,
what I
what
mean?
was he famous for, Arthur C. Clarke?
Remember the mysteries? He did the TV show.
Ah,
Uh, uh,
yeah, they, yeah. I remember seeing. Yeah,
but he's already established author before then. But he just did that. That's what was it? The world's famous mysteries or something. It was one that he had the crystal skull in the credits, the intro.
uh,
He just narrated over like strange phenomena in the world.
uh,
God, there's a blast from. But we're really getting, really going back in time with these sort of. It
yeah,
sort of gets you. Remember this?
yeah. It's strange, isn't it?
Oh, we'll have to say, this doesn't do nurses any favors.
Oh no, makes them makes it look like the nurses in the Carry On films, doesn't it?
Yeah. Wonder why nurses have a bad reputation.
Barbara Windsor.
Hello, doctor. Yes, the girls have been talking how you're a dirty stop out. That's why I came down. You're like,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, class.
I want my go. You're just like, yeah, this is the 50s as well. You're just like, you can just picture the, in the all the well-to-do ladies in the front row. She
Yeah.
disgraceful.
Cracking.
Not as bad as what's her face out of American Werewolf in London. Like she was the top tier predator.
Oh yeah, sleeping with the bloody.
She's like, I want that one. Fighting other nurses to get them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear. But yeah, there's like it's a pretty straight, I mean, it's a straightforward story. This it goes
Yeah.
along, and all we're doing is just following the investigators as they try and figure this out.
Yeah.
And then sort of the third act is where the thing gets so large that it could just eat entire villages. Anything that gives off any sort of radiation, human body, whatever, just that's
Yeah.
enough. It's just all consuming.
Yeah.
But I love
So,
the way his experiment was either this will either work or it'll explode it.
or it might not.
Yeah, it'll either work, it'll do nothing, or it'll vaporize everything because of the size of this creature.
Yeah.
You're like, but we'll have to. Well, no other choice. We'll have to do it anyway. Okay, well, roll the dice,
Yeah,
see what happens.
we got no other ideas at the moment. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just get the admin guy to do it? Yeah, he could have said, "Yeah, have a go at this, mate."
Yeah.
If
Can
it
you get
don't-
those? Can you get those antenna aligned? Because if they're not aligned, the thing blows up.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it's all in all, it's a good story. It's only an hour long. It's not a it's not these 2 hour snore fests.
Hour
Just
and a
cram
quarter.
full of exposition.
Yeah, and you look at films in this day and age that are an hour and a quarter. I don't bother with films that are an hour and a quarter in this day and age. You know, that are made 2023, 2024. I always think they've got to be at least hour and a half long for me to actually entertain them. Because if they're only an hour and a quarter, what's the story? You know, and is it just going to suddenly end? I learnt my lesson with. Do you remember we talked about that man with the big head? You know, the one I said about makes all the London crime films. Softcut.
Oh right, yes, soft cut, yeah. The
A lot,
dodgy one.
a lot of his films go to about hour and a quarter, mainly because it's rumored that he runs out of budget. So yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
think you get the hang out after a bit?
yeah,
I don't know. I'm thinking about movies and stuff, and honestly, I just wouldn't have the patience to deal with so many people to try and get something made.
yeah.
But do you think today, even with the technology people have and green screen that, they still can't make a movie of this quality?
No, not at all.
And even they're using rollers and all sorts, and people can't make that
And
level.
the story flows brilliantly.
Hmm.
You know, today sometimes you get the continuity and you think, hold on, what's happened there? But it flows perfectly in the editing, even with the scenes that required models, was perfect. I couldn't fault it.
Plus, don't forget how people edit movies back
Yeah,
then. It was literally
isn't it?
tape,
Stick it together.
stick it together. The light source to actually look,
Yeah,
and that was a week. That was hours of work, and then they spooled it through. And if something was there, where did they stop?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the for its day, I mean, it was very very well edited and put together.
and the
There was
sound.
there were some scenes where you could see the lighting from from the whatever they were using, stage or the scene. They were obviously using lighting in some cases, and you could actually see the shine from the lighting. You know, the beam.
Well, there weren't light monitors then.
Yeah.
You think about the wee handheld light monitor that even in the like 80s when they
Yeah.
came about, there wasn't even that then. So it really hit or miss.
Yeah.
You think of the old cameras where you took the shots with a film and you really were, you were hoping it came out okay,
Yeah.
and you didn't know until it got developed.
Yeah.
So it's I can forgive a lot. That's basically what I'm trying to say with these sort of movies, because you can understand the constraints of technology and the time involved,
Yeah.
which is why I'm less forgiving of movies today, because you can do so much and yet they look so much worse.
Mm.
And I don't just mean Hollywood, because Hollywood's just it's just the fast food factory. It's just chuck it out. But I think if you're an independent film creator, you have a responsibility
I cannot
to step up your game.
life. Some of these, why don't they concentrate on making one brilliant film instead of making all these ones that they sell straight to DVD that or equivalent that go straight to Amazon Prime now. Amazon Prime don't have any good films on. They have all these IMDb ratings of 2 and things like this. And why don't they concentrate on making one massively good film as opposed to 20 bad ones?
Because it's just a machine, and it's
Yeah.
this whole they've got the thing in the streaming that it has to be content for content's sake,
Yeah.
and it's meant they're going the same route as TV. That's the problem. And there's a
Yeah.
reason people moved away from TV, and I've made this argument for as long as this channel's existed,
Yeah.
that the streamers, they had the opportunity of back catalogs and collections that would have kept the audience happy.
Mm.
You know, you can't to watch this movie. I signed up to Netflix, and also I've watched one movie and I can't bear to. I'm looking up and down the list. There's nothing there I want to watch. It's all crap. Amazon, at least if you do an add-on, you know, one of their offers for an add-on, you can get another channel
Yeah.
and get access to stuff. But they're going the same route. There's so much stuff that's been like when we did Night of the Creeps, that's one that fell completely under the radar. How many other movies are out there that are forgotten gems?
Yeah.
And if somebody had their head on their shoulders, all they do is get the license. Okay, let's pop that on. Let's pop, and there's more content. If we never made another movie as a society from today onwards, there's more material out there than you could watch in a lifetime.
Mm.
You know, I mean, if no more movies got made from today onwards, there's still more than enough content out there you could never watch in your entire life.
I mean, there are some good films that are unknowns. I told you about that one, didn't I? That we watched the other day called The Kindred.
That's right. Yeah,
I thought
well.
I thought it was brilliant, but I'd never heard of it. Now and again you'll come across one that's worthy of watching, whether they're worthy of going into the cinema, but who knows? I remember going to the cinema when they used to show two films together, and one used to be what would be the B movie now, supporting an A movie, but I can never understand. There's just hundreds and hundreds coming out all at once, and you have to, if you've got Amazon Prime, you scroll through and you think, never heard of it, never heard of it, never heard of it. Who's that actor? Never heard of it. Oh, the storyline's the same. He killed his wife, he killed his child. Now he's having revenge. Scrap that.
Or if you watch one vampire movie, then you get bombarded with 100 of them.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, please don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But it's just become a factory. And the thing is, when we talked to Cameron and I, we talked to Calvin McCarthy. He's the owner of 7th Street Productions.
Yeah.
And their producer gives them, the production company that funds them,
Yeah.
gives them like a week and a half to fully shoot and edit a film.
Yeah.
What the hell could you do with that?
Yeah.
And they don't even get to use ADR or anything. It's just straight whatever the microphone picks up. That's the way the movie comes out.
I mean, do they think? Because I like the old horror. I love the old horror, and there's very few new horror films that I like. I think I did listen sometime too much to, film magazines and some of the online things. I do still subscribe to Total Film. Now, at one point, I used to subscribe to Empire, and then I felt Empire was getting very sort of, this studio's bought something off Empire, because they're reviewing it, saying it's good. And when Total Film first came out, it never did that. It was quite impartial. But now it seems to be going the same.
No, it's the shells, they're corporate shells. I talked about this actually when we did the Becoming a Reviewer workshop.
Yeah.
I talked about that, if you want to be a reviewer with integrity and you want people to follow you because you give genuine opinions, you can't do that. You can't chill, just everything's good because I like these people or I'm being paid by them or I'm getting early access. That's
Yeah,
all you are is a marketing team. You're not actually a reviewer. On the other hand, you can't be the edge lord. Oh, everyone likes this movie. I'm gonna hate it because I'm so edgy. It's stupid.
yeah,
Um, you have to know what you like and then just be honest.
yeah,
And as long as you're not like I said, if you're doing everything with best intentions and as long as you state the reasons why,
yeah.
then people will appreciate that.
I mean, if you take my view, if you take the film Platoon,
Hmm.
um, I'm not a war film fanatic. I did like Schindler's List. I thought Schindler's List was a masterpiece, and but I'm not a war film fanatic. And back then, the view I had was I don't like that film, but someone who likes war films probably would, and that
Hmm.
that would be my view. I didn't personally like the film, but they seem to plant it on you now. Oh, this film is brilliant, and you've got to like it. Like
If you
Hereditary,
don't like it, you're a bigot. That's
yeah.
what just cracks me up every
If
time.
you're a horror fan, we've said it's 5 star in total film. Hereditary. You've got to like it. I went to see it, and I thought,
And then you get people online, they're like, we're part of this camp, you know,
yeah,
clapping seals. We're part of this camp. So if you don't like this movie, you're not in our gang and we're going to attack you. And you're like, what are you doing? It's a movie. There's no way on this planet a movie is worth falling out over or
no,
trying to get somebody sacked from their job or harass them. That is mental. Guess what? If you enjoy a movie, crack on. If somebody else doesn't, so be it. That's why there's so many movies out there. That's why we've got variety. Or else there'd just be one movie, everyone would watch it, and that's all you'd need.
yeah, I know, and but but they don't get a normal person. Like, they wouldn't say, Colin, would you be a guest reviewer in Total Film? They've got these people who've got their own view, who are more or less paid for by
There's
the students.
um Cameron and I guessed it on a show and he's still bleeping out the swear words and the sexual references because we were talking about Hellraiser movies. And of course, if you can't talk about Clive Barker without sexual innuendo and references, because that's what Clive Barker's about. That's why we love
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
And he's still bleeping all that out. That's why I don't get invited to guest reviews and things. No, but they won't, because it's all about the corporate marketing. It's not actually about honest reviews of a movie, and they're so terrified of because they're funneling so much money into these things that the budgets are ridiculous. They have to, it has to be safe. It has to win because they don't make lower medium budget movies.
No.
And there's so much invested in it, and then there's so many people who are in jobs that shouldn't be in jobs because they don't have talent, and they're protecting themselves. That's what that's defensiveness about. But people have caught on to it now. People were going along with it, but now nobody's going to the cinema, and that's a sad thing.
No.
Nobody's watching movies. Nobody cares.
I
People would
used to,
rather watch a 30-second TikTok video now
I
and
know.
not, but that's the state of play
Yeah.
because people aren't, if you don't have attention span, you can't concentrate on things, you can't think. Um, like there's a whole denigration, which believe it or not, culture matters. People might think this is a joke. Oh, they're talking about movies. How's that important? But it is.
Yeah. It's this as well, this whole influencer thing. You've got to follow this person, and
I was just going to say that about me. Thanks to everybody that subscribed today, by the way. We're nearly at 400. I think I've about 27 to go to get to the 400 mark. If you wouldn't mind hitting that wee subscribe button on YouTube, would be much appreciated.
yeah,
I wouldn't
yeah.
mind.
Come on.
I wouldn't mind getting a wee bit of that. Oh, let's all follow Colin. He talks a lot of nonsense, but sometimes he makes sense.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, they're just fake empty people with no.
they get these companies give them free samples to because they've got 27 million bloody followers, with the hope that half 1,000 are actually watching them, and 1,000 more buy their product.
But that's been done before. Do you remember the infomercial?
Yeah,
Remember the old infomercials of the late night TV in the 80s?
yeah,
And then the 90s, then it went on to like the QVC and stuff. That's all that is.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, people are watching shopping channels. That has not changed. It's just a different medium.
It's like one of the dragons on Dragon's Den. Actually, she has a lot of influence on one of the shopping channels. And all she says is, "I can get that on the shopping channel tomorrow. I can get that on the shopping channel tomorrow." And she must say to the shopping channel, "This will sell." And this
Gets
is
a
a good
backhander, yeah.
And yeah,
I never. We were talking about that today, actually. I'm on a course at the moment, and yeah, Dragon's Den come up, and I just cannot watch that show. I have no interest in it. Well, it's a BBC anyway. I don't watch a BBC, so I do not watch live TV as it's broadcast or BBC iPlayer just for legal purposes. So we are totally clear. So
I think it's
Jimmy Savile
going on like X Factor and Britain's Got Talent. Me, I'm entertained for 20 years before I had to give up because of my epilepsy. I didn't need to go on those programs to be told that I could or couldn't sing.
Mm-hmm.
The people who I entertained, would have told me if I couldn't sing, if I didn't entertain them, and the number of people who did tell me, were more than the people who walked out on me.
Yeah, bums and seats. That kind of says it all. Yeah.
You do get them.
Oh, guess what? Everyone who heard your comment didn't turn up, so you don't get booked next week. If you keep getting booked back, you're doing something right.
Oh, yeah. The comments I got from, several clubs, in fact, but was, we can tell you're here this week. The bar manager said to me, he says, because take-ins are double what they normally are. It was... I just used to go and be myself, but it's the same with these influencers who they bring it on and they've got the power to say especially in cinema, this film's good, this film's crap.
Mm-hmm.
What are they getting out of it by saying a film's good? And magazines are totally. I know. All I look at on the Total Film magazine, because I'm getting it cheap anyway, because I get the digital version as well. And all I look on is what films are coming out, screen, and I look at how many stars the magazines give them, and I thought, yeah, okay.
Well, you look at Rotten Tomatoes.
I'll watch that film for myself, and I'll tell you.
Yeah. Look at Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score and the critic score couldn't be any more polar opposites on movies.
Yeah.
And that's that's what I'm trying to reach with this channel, just to say, right, here's a movie. I'll either like it or won't. If I don't like it, I'll tell you why. If I do like it, I'll tell you why. That's it. I've no agenda. And there's even like the 7th Street or Acrostar, two film companies that have been on the channel loads of times and good friends. I'll still be honest.
Yeah.
About,
that's the thing about things like this is we rip a movie apart and we come out at the end and say either, both of us give views. If you've got Chris or Cameron on, you each give your views. Now, it just goes to show that your view might be different to mine. You might think a film's brilliant, and I might think we've done this before. We've been there.
Yeah, we've been there many a time.
We've both give our arguments, and it's then up to someone else who's watching to decide: shall I give this a watch? And do I agree with Colin or do I agree with Steve? And our opinions are never going to be the same.
No, because that'd be boring.
Yeah,
that would be dull. What would be the point?
I know. But
There's actually talking to Chris. Sorry, I was trying to get his question in here. What's the
What?
favorite difference between older movies and modern movies generally? Do you want to go first on that one? So the favorite difference, basically, I think what he's trying to ask is what you like, what your favorite difference is about the older movies you prefer to.
I think suspense. I think the older movies had the thrill of making you frightened. Whether it was earlier on in the film or whether it was keeping you like this movie, sort of hanging on until the end. Whereas films that are made these days, sort of you watch the first 10 minutes and you couldn't care less what was at the end in some of them. Whereas films back in the 60s, if we take, even though it was done several times, the Dracula series,
Mm.
You were frightened from the start of Christopher Lee. I mean, he spooked me as a kid. But even though you had the several different ones, Dracula has risen from the grave, Dracula, Brides of Dracula, Satanic Rites of Dracula, you knew what was going to happen at the end. He was going to get killed or, staked through the heart or whatever. Yeah. But the suspense of how it was going to happen used to keep you on the edge of your seat, and you used to have to, you knew you had to watch the film to find out how it happened. And I think that's the difference between. I like the suspense.
You're along for the story.
Yeah,
you're going for the journey.
These days, you just don't get the suspense. It's what's going to happen. They've got a top star there, and something's going. Top stars most of the time is going to live at the end, and you're there and you're thinking, oh yeah, okay, he's been knocked over and left for dead, but he can't die this early in the film. He'll be there at the end and he'll win, and there's absolutely no suspense whatsoever in latter day horror.
The only one that's broken that trope has been Skarsgård. Is it Andrew Skarsgård? I know there's a couple of Bill Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah. He's in Barbarian, for example. That was a complete misdirect with the trailer.
Yeah.
Like you thought he was going a completely different direction. That was a complete misdirect, and he was happy to do that. And you wouldn't. He's the only actor I know that would prepared to do that for the role.
Yeah.
No other actor would do it because their ego would get in the way.
Yeah.
For me, it has to be characters and dialogue.
Yeah.
You have a better class of dialogue and actors you can actually get behind and go on the journey with.
Yeah.
Today, like I use Michael Bay as an example. There's dialogue that actually hurts your brain to listen to.
Yeah.
And then people emulate and copy. This. God, there's horror directors I've watched a couple of their movies, the Soska sisters, and they do exactly the same trope. It's trashy, drug addicted, scummy girl boss character. That sort of, and they can't string two words together, and they're always hyper aggressive. People you'd cross the street to go away from.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can almost smell the characters, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Did it in Hellraiser Deader as well. That journalist was horrendous. But there's too many of those type of characters today that they're wooden planks. There's no nuance or personality about them. They're a trope. They're nothing but a trope. They're not actually a character.
I think
dialogue they use is shocking. It's just painful.
Yeah. I think you also got the thing is in the 50s and 60s, you actually had actors who sort of were appreciative of how much they were being paid to act, and they knew they had to give their all in most cases to their part. Where these days, this guy's getting paid 20 million. He ain't gonna worry if the film's crap as long as he gets his 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think it's pride in
It's the unions. It's this whole union. I didn't realize how unionized, especially in
yeah,
America, their whole setup is,
mm,
and have to have so many cast members and so many extra people. Like these things, it's just so bloated and out of control
yeah,
that that's why there's no creativity. Sam Raimi couldn't do what Sam Raimi does today.
no,
If you think about Evil Dead and how they made that film and how everyone had to be on board for it, that wouldn't happen today.
no,
You just don't have the caliber of actor there.
do that. Oh God, yeah,
Look at the wet drips they're throwing around the place. There's no real modern actors you can get behind.
no,
They're just, there's
no.
nothing there. They keep throwing that guy that did June, Timothy. He's
Timothy
Wonka as well.
Timothy
Yeah,
Chalamet.
he is a drip.
Yeah,
He is a weed. He is. There's nothing to him. Like
no, yeah,
no, he's a wet blanket. There's no charisma there. There's nothing. He just sort of sleepwalks across the screen.
yeah. I
And
I enjoyed his "Call Me by Your Name." I thought he was. I think it was one of his first ones, wasn't it? But I thought that he was quite good in that. But um, yeah, I thought June was boring, and really it's up to the actors who are paid all this big bucks to give it the bit of oomph. Even if the script's rubbish, we've seen it with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. That they might have a terrible script, but they still give it their all.
100%.
And it makes it that little bit better.
Mhm.
And now they just these actors think I can care less if it was a rubbish script.
But that's why the Hollywood star is dead.
Get paid 20 million with this rubbish script.
I'll sleepwalk and just coast it. But then that's that's just like I said, there's no creativity. It all stems down from the storytelling and attention span, and it's all there, and everything suffers. Because if you don't inspire people, we don't get better. And that's why everyone's just degenerate and fighting over the stupidest things instead of actually knuckling down.
Yeah.
Like we should be exploring the solar system by now. That should just be what we're doing.
Yeah. In reply to Chris's question, if you give me an up-to-date film to watch with Colin, I'd go, I'll watch it once. You give me a 50s and 60s, early 70s horror film, I absolutely delve into it and watch it 3 times. I watched Exit Unexplained again today. It's because you can watch them over and over again, and the ones today they just pass you by.
You've forgotten what you've watched before the movie ends.
Yeah,
you've kind of gone, oh right, stuff, and it's went way over your head. But this is going to be a fun series.
Yeah, I think these early Hammer horror ones sort of set the pace for how they were going along, and they they thought, hey, we can do this, and what can we get away with next? What can we think of next? And bringing them. What's our next one?
I'm not sure. I'm looking up Alfred Hitchcock because he was starting to appear around about this time, wasn't
he? Yeah. Well, yeah, he was doing a lot of thrillers, wasn't he? And then
1922.
Yeah.
1927. Yeah. So at the same time as Hammer Horror, you had Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
He was, there was 2 powerhouse because Hitchcock was he was a powerhouse on his own.
Yeah.
And we that would be a channel. We would have to start a separate channel to do Hitchcock movies.
Hitchcock movies.
That would have to be a channel on its own, and it would have to be 2 a week.
Because one of the first Hitchcock movies I actually saw was Robert Downey in The 39 Steps. The 1939 one, I think it was. I think it was around about 1939. Might have been earlier. But there's been several versions made. One with Robert Powell, but the Robert Donay one was brilliant. And the other Hitchcock one I saw was Sabotage, which was quite good. Very topical at the time because it was based on like a World War II type of story. And of course you got The Birds.
Vertigo, absolute classic as well.
Vertigo was brilliant. Psycho. And if you read the history of Psycho, you think, how the hell did this get made? You know, of course they made the film on it as well, on based on just
Other
called
books.
Hitchcock, wasn't it? No, the Hitchcock movie just called Hitchcock.
Oh right, yes.
Yeah, which went into just what happened on Psycho. I'd already read about how it got made. But no studio would pick it up at the time because of the subject, and he actually had to remortgage his house to fund the movie himself. And then suddenly the studio thought, "Hey, you know, this is sort of getting interest, etc." A bit like the Friday the 13th, where they never had funding for the film, they never even had a script or a story. He just more or less put the scariest horror film of the 70s or whatever on his promo posters, but he didn't even have a story or a script.
That takes guts.
And
we can get away with that now.
No, and he actually got funding from a studio for a film that wasn't actually written. And I told you I got the book. The book's about that size, about that thick, and it's full of photos and and stories on how it got made. What the thing behind it was. It's a brilliant book, but yeah. Pain.
Well, next up, we have The Curse of Frankenstein.
Oh, brilliant!
So that's
is that
1957.
Who's Frankenstein in that? Was that Christopher Lee or?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee. Yep.
Yeah.
He's reprising his role.
Yeah, Curse of Frankenstein. Yeah, I love the Frankenstein movies. They were some of the earlier ones that scared me again as a kid.
Absolutely. Plus, these were direct competition, the Universal monsters as well.
Yeah. Frankenstein was never. He had sex problems, because his nuts were in his neck.
Wah, wah, wah. Oh god, you had to get one in. You've done well, or nearly a whole stream. But yeah, that's what got that. So before Stephen loads any more on us, we'll just say, yeah, Curtis, we'll get that queued up, and just need to say, thanks everyone for joining in the chat there. And turn up those that are lurking as well. You can talk; it's okay. We don't bite. We might even answer your questions. Don't be afraid to join in. I see as they're lurking, and I've got my little spyglass that shows you all there. Don't be afraid to talk to us. But until next time, keep up with the channel, do the type of clicky things, and until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.